Yes, children, let us read further. And we saw that how the king was disguised as a common man, and he went to the hermit who was widely known for his wisdom. The only reason the king had gone to hermit was to seek answers to his three questions. So let's read it. When the king arrived, the hermit was digging the ground in front of his hut. So as soon as the king came to hermit's place, he saw the hermit was busy doing his work. He greeted the king but went on digging. He wished the king, but he continued with his work. The hermit was frail and weak, and the king noticed that hermit was not a strong person. He was very frail, very weak person. And and each time he struck the ground with the spade and turned over a little earth, he breathed heavily. So the moment he used to struck the ground with the spade and he used to dig, within no time he started breathing very heavily. It required, it was seen that he required a lot of effort in order to dig the soil. The king went up to him and said, I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you to answer three questions. How can I learn to do the right thing at the right time? So the king told the reason why he had come to the hermit, and he told that he had come to seek answers to his three questions. And he told the first question, that what is the right time to begin anything? Who are the people I most need, and to whom should I therefore pay most attention? Then he told his second question. He wanted answer to the question that who is the most important person and whom he should listen to. And the third question he uttered, and what affairs are the most important and need my first attention? And then he told him the third question, that what is the most important work? How should I judge that this is the most important work which I should do right now? So these were the three questions which he told to the hermit. Let's see what is the hermit's response. The hermit listened to the king but said nothing. So the hermit heard the king's questions, but he did not reply. He just spat on his hand and resumed digging. But he just spat on his hand. Spat on his hand means to give a light blow or strike lightly. And he again started his work of digging. The king watched in silence for a while. For some time, the king did not say anything. He was just observing the hermit. Then, feeling sorry for the hermit, he said, You are tired. Let me take the spade and work a while for you. And the king offered help to hermit, that please let me help you out. You are already tired, and I'm going to let me dig for some time. The hermit silently handed over the spade and sat down on the ground. When he had dug two beds, the king stopped and repeated his questions. Now, the king usually, the hermit was digging the bed. Okay, he was preparing the land for plantation. So, usually on the ground, these beds are formed and plantation is done. So the king also, he dug two beds and made the soil ready for plantation. And then he stopped and again he repeated his questions. The hermit again gave no answer. He did not reply. But Rose stretched out his hand for the spade and said, Now rest a while and let me work a bit. But instead, Hermit told, You just give back the spade to me and I would continue digging because maybe you are tired. But the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. But the king wanted to give some more time to the hermit so that he can give answers to his question. And he knew that the hermit did not have that much energy to dig the ground because he was very weak and frail. So he continued digging. 1 hour passed and another. Now time was just going ahead. It was passing. The sun began to sink. It was evening now. Behind the trees, and the king at last stuck the spade into the ground and said, I came to you, wise one, for an answer to my questions. If you can give me none, please say so, and I will go home. So the king made it very clear to the hermit, and now he had lost his patience. So he just stuck. Stuck is to hit, push, or thrust the spade on the ground. And he told that if you don't have any answers, then you better tell me. I would go back. Here comes someone running, said the hermit. Again, the hermit did not reply anything, instead, diverted the attention of the king, telling him that there is someone who is approaching them and this person is running. Someone running, said the hermit. Let us see who it is. Let us find out why this man is running. The way he was running, it appeared as if he was running for his life. He wanted to save his life. Now, here we have a question. How did the hermit respond to the king's question? And just now we read it. The hermit listened to the king but said nothing. Second time, when the king repeated his questions, the hermit again gave no answer but rose, stretched out his hand for the spade, and asked the king to rest a while he would resume digging. So this is the answer to the question. Now here we have direct speech, children, but we cannot write the answers in direct speech. And that therefore the answer which I told you, this part of answer which I told you, it is converted to indirect speech. Always remember, direct speech answers will not be accepted. Now let's find out who the stranger was. Why was he running for his life? The king turned round. Now, king did not see the man because it was his back. So he turned round and saw a bearded man come running out of the forest. Now, this man was coming out of the forest and he was running. The man held his hands pressed against his stomach. Now uh, he was holding his hands and he was pressing his stomach like anything. And blood was flowing from under them, and the king noticed that blood was just oozing out from his stomach. When he reached the king, he fainted and fell to the ground, moaning feebly. Excessive bleeding made this man faint. That is, he became unconscious and he just fell to the ground and he was moaning. Moaning means he was in excessive pain, and due to this pain, you give out a sound. So that is called as moaning sound. But it was a very feeble moaning sound. It was very weak. The king and the hermit unfastened the man's clothing. Now, the king and the hermit first thought that let us find out what was wrong. So they just loosened his clothes. There was a large wound in his stomach. The king washed it. So the king started nursing the man. He saw the large wound. So the king washed it as well as he could and bandaged it with his handkerchief and a towel the hermit had. So they had only two things with them. One was the handkerchief of the king and the towel of the hermit. And the king used it for bandaging the wound. But the blood would not stop flowing, and the king again and again removed the bandage soaked with warm blood and washed and rebandaged the wound. But the king did not give up. Again and again, he used to wash the handkerchief and the towel, which used to be full of blood, which used to be soaked in blood, and they used to wash it. He used to wash it and used to rebandage the wound. When at last the blood stopped flowing, the man revived and asked for something to drink. So as soon as he revived, he regained his consciousness. He got his energy back. He asked something to drink, and the king brought some fresh water and gave it to him. And the king gave him some water to drink. So we have a question here, children. In what state was the bearded man when he arrived? So we have the answer over here, that when the man arrived, he was holding his hands. Instead of held, we will write, he was holding his hands pressed against his stomach, and blood was flowing from under them. When the man reached the king, he fainted and fell to the ground, moaning feebly. So this is the answer to this question. So in the next video, now we can go to the next video, children, and we can find out that who this stranger was, and what was he doing in the forest, and did the king got answers to his question? Let's find out in the next video.